Have you ever heard the story of Belle Delphine?
No.
No, I thought not. It's not a story the neckbeards would tell you. It's a thought legend. She had such a knowledge of Instagram that she could keep even the sweetest ones she cared about from, well, loneliness and shit. Hi, how's it going, guys? I'm Donan. Now, have you guys ever, been playing Minecraft or something? Or maybe studying for an exam, and you think to yourself, oh shit, why am I doing this? I should instead be researching into the moderately famous internet star Belle Delphine. Well, I can tell you one thing. I have, and I was so interested, I decided to make this video to show you. Am I emotionally invested in Belle Delphine? No, not at all. Is this a meaningful use of your time and attention? That is also debatable. But what I do think is that this is a fascinating story about how somebody has maneuvered the entire internet as a way to succeed and create a successful brand. Alright, it's time to travel way back to the ancient era of 2015. The people are blissful and the airwaves are filled with Justin Bieber and Maroon 5, unfortunately. And in the deepest shallows of suburban England, a 15-year-old South African-born Belle Delphine moves out of her parents' home into the big scary world of adulthood and part-time work, where she works a bunch of odd jobs to survive in shared housing. I don't think she's ever mentioned what caused the rift between her and her parents. But, it obviously sucks to be on the street, fully independent at such a young age. But after looking at all the stuff she's known for, it's not really surprising, is it? I'm sure there's a correlation to this kind of stuff. And just quickly, before I continue, obviously Belle Delphine isn't her real name. Nobody has the surname of Dolphin. I've made a deliberate choice to omit her real name, which really isn't that hard to find. She obviously doesn't want that information to be spread, and seeing as her career is realistically going downhill from here, I believe that she should be able to disconnect from this persona when she goes to get a real job. Now, excluding a personal Twitter and Facebook account, this is the very first image of Belle Delphine under the Belle Delphine persona. We really don't know exactly when she uploaded this pic, or maybe we do. I really didn't do too much research, to be honest. Seeing that she deleted all of her old photos, but like everything else on the interweb, it has become a place of pilgrimage for her fans. You can see all of the neckbeard comments that are posted, which is kind of fucking creepy if you ask me. Seeing as far as I can tell, she's like 15, 16 when she took it, but whatever. Her Instagram would exist more or less as a personal account. You can modify your Instagram handle as many times as you like, so it's unclear exactly when the pseudonym Belle Delphine was actually orchestrated. But by about a year of very insignificant growth, she would begin the official Belle Delphine YouTube channel.
Hi, I'm Belle, and today I'm going to be doing my everyday eye makeup for you. I've had a few people ask me how I do my makeup, so I thought I'd just make a quick and easy video of how I do it. So if anyone asks, I can just link them to this.
As you can tell, her early YouTube career never really did that well. Unlikely, she wasn't very dedicated. She didn't really upload too many videos, and I think naturally she assumed that because she was a female, naturally, she should target a female audience, creating makeup tutorials, and it's all pretty innocent and tame, unlike the stuff that she's more famous for. And as such, well, naturally, it doesn't really go anywhere. And if I had to guess, I'd say she only had less than 100,000 followers on Instagram and YouTube at this time. I've tried so many fucking times just to sit down and watch this video, but to be completely honest, it really is quite fucking boring. It's just a makeup tutorial. There's not even any octopuses to entertain you. So if you only like her for lewd content, maybe give it a miss. Now at this point, the Belle Delphine brand really isn't going anywhere. I've been on the case for several days now, and I'm fully confident that the Belle Delphine persona has only ever existed to be commercialized, and in that regard, by the time 2018 rolled around, she was probably quite unhappy about how things were progressing. According to the Wayback Machine, she had 500,000 followers by October of 2018, which likely meant that at the start of 2018, she had anywhere from 0 to 500,000 behind her. Compared this to the 3.5 million that she would have a year later, this was complete chump change. But that would all change with a little app called TikTok.
3, 2, 1.
Developed as a replacement for Musical.ly, which in itself was a ripoff of Vine, TikTok is unique in that it allows people to lip-sync songs, which somehow leads it to being worth $75 billion. Delphine would go on to make an account right around the time that TikTok would blow up, and would post what has now likely become the most viewed TikTok of all time, which really isn't saying anything at all.
Hit or miss? I guess they never miss, huh? Something about a boyfriend I've never watched this far. Wiz Khalifa?
This shook the internet to its very foundation. A bunch of memes were made from it. Imagine if Andy Warhol came back from the dead, but this time he had T-Rex arms instead. That image isn't very relevant, but it sure is interesting. Despite TikTok being really quite shit and boring, and some very boring memes, Delphine really helped take the platform off and help encourage the ironic TikTok memes that have, of course, become quite prevalent in its rise. And this is the first time that people, myself included, even heard of the so-called gamer girl. And with all of this free internet clout, she would begin selling out like crazy. She dropped a Patreon, she set up a merch store. She's about to make a podcast on 20th century horse racing, and she tells me it's really good. This is finally when people started looking at her for the first time, and she knew that she was going to make as much money off it as possible. And now would begin the start of Delphine's controversies and scandals. On the 14th of June 2019, using that long forgotten YouTube channel, she would post the biggest proof that God was dead since Alvin and the Chipmunks. Meet my best friend. It had everything that you need to become viral. An attractive chick, wholesome music, and an abundance of death, which therefore led to becoming quite viral. This immediately put Belle Delphine back into the limelight once again. Nobody had ever really combined scantily clad women and tentacles together. It was a totally foreign concept on the internet, and therefore piqued quite a shit ton of interest. Yes, the video does have a 45% dislike ratio, but aside from that, I'd say it was pretty well received. You can see from Belle's Google Trends that interest for her grew by about 600% in the following week. But you can also see that Alaskans really fucking love her for some reason, and that people think that she's either committing tax fraud or is dead, so maybe we shouldn't pay too much attention to Google Trends. And oh boy, with growth from both TikTok and her new viral video, the sky was the limit for Belle. The internet was in her pocket and she was a big mother kangaroo just spreading her jelly beans all across the desert. She must have seen what worked with the octopus stunt, how it was kinda gross, in a weird way it was erotic, and how it shook the internet by its very core and wanted to times it by 10. So when creepy fans started joking about drinking her bathwater, it gave her quite the idea. And to quote her Guardian interview, "Lots of people would comment on my photos saying that they would drink my bathwater. I was thinking of ideas one day and it just popped into my head. What if I actually bottled and sold my bathwater?" End quote. I mean, selling bathwater is, to be fair, the logical next step after playing with octopuses. I can actually see how it is the natural continuation of ideas in her head. But in all seriousness, this is actually the sort of stuff that made me want to produce this video. I really don't care about her content, let me tell you. When I look at her do these sort of things, I'm compelled to see Jesus, which is quite rare obviously as an atheist. But what I do think is that she's genuinely very intelligent about how she maneuvers the internet to improve her brand, and how she's effectively just trolling neckbeards to get rich. Controversy and discourse sells very well. I mean, when John Lennon said that the Beatles were bigger than Jesus, their shows in the Bible Belt actually sold out within days. And when Rockstar first started developing the Grand Theft Auto series way back in the 90s, their publicists deliberately told reviewers how violent the game was, which obviously proved very successful in stirring up drama. Bigger the story gets, the more you sell, regardless of the image you're conveying. And what I think is that Delphine is perfectly aware of this and has designed her brand to always be just controversial enough so that she gets talked about on the interweb, while not being so egregious as to turn her fans away. Something like the Gamer Girl bathwater is obviously a very niche product with very little demand, and she's only sold them in a limited supply, which shows that the point of it wasn't actually just to sell water, but it was made so that she'd become headline news across the internet. Everybody from CNN to PewDiePie talked about it, and in turn there was a massive growth in her Patreon, which is where the real money comes from. So with Belle flying high in a wax wing, she would start to make the neckbeards fiercely angry. How dare she enrich herself based off our masturbatory habits, they cried. So they hatched a plan, and like all things slightly pathetic, it was born in the dungeons of Reddit. Now, we believe that the attack was orchestrated by either r/teenagers or the incels that are still deep undercover in Reddit. In the dead of the night, a full force of virgins struck Delphine in the rear, sending report after report against the account, claiming that she had posted pornography, nudity, and other heathenish imagery. Belle Delphine's only defense, unfortunately for her, was the Instagram algorithm, which worked to determine if the reports were accurate or not. Now, seeing as people like Jessica Negri and Meg Turney are still on Instagram, I would guess that Delphine's termination was a bit out of proportion, but who can tell? When people woke, it was headline news. Podcast after podcast started talking about it. The internet was going mad. CNN, Fox News, whatever libertarians listen to, they all chimed in. Even Bernie Sanders brought it into his campaign. Joe Biden tried to as well, but unsuccessfully. Was this the end for Belle Delphine? Now, to be clear, this wasn't the end for Belle Delphine. You see, her Instagram provided free publicity to the persona, but her main form of income would always be through her Patreon, and failing that, her merch store. What I do think is that this was a major blow to Belle, and for all we know, it spells the start of the end for Belle Delphine, or at the very least, the end of the beginning. She's still doing her usual thing, selling images to weirdos who don't know what Google Images are, but now there's certainly less vigor in the brand, and there's certainly a decline in her popularity. I really wouldn't be surprised in the least if she has another big controversy in the works. With her Instagram gone, will she fade to obscurity, the likes of Boxy and all the other e-girls that time has forgotten? Or will she soar into unparalleled thought greatness, first becoming an icon and then one day the president? I really don't know, and I really don't care. This is Donan, and this has been the story of Belle Delphine.